Feels like an oats kind of a morning. Well, I made it to Huppatz Hut, however you say it. Yeah, it was a pretty easy day. I actually tried to like sleep in a bit, but of course that didn't happen. And I was like lying there listening to the rain. I'm thinking it's going to be like this all day. I'm in no rush. I knew it wasn't a heaps long day, and it didn't look overly hard in terms of like elevation either, so yeah, I wasn't too worried. I was sort of trying to hang at the campground as long as I could, but yeah, once I woke up I thought, there's no point in fighting it. I headed to the toilet first off, and then yeah, sussed out the outside of the tent and tightened a couple of like the sidewall and the vestibule guideline things, like stake things, because they were, I mean, it had been kind of lightly raining all night, but yeah, the tent had gotten a little bit saggy, so I tightened them up. I noticed where on the fly where it's zipped across, it's zipped closed at the moment, but you zip that open and then like fold out the little rod thing to create an air gap. But I had that closed and zipped up, but I noticed as I was laying there were drips coming in onto, I had the inner part open, so it was just the fly screen stuff, and there were drips like dropping onto that bit, and then eventually they come through the mesh. So I thought, well, that's not cool. Like, so yeah, I sussed where it was happening, and it was just that double layer where the zip is there on the fly. The water was like collecting in there, so I just sort of like push it all out and brush the water away, and then and then it didn't do it after that, but it probably would again after a while, like more rain. So I don't know if that's a known issue with the tent, or whether you're actually meant to have that thing open all the time. But I mean, I didn't know what angle the rain was coming, so it could have been coming right in there if I had it open. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, I just made brekkie. I sort of had a bit of a headache, so I opted to skip the coffee. I figured it was probably a little bit of dehydration. I still have like a slight one now. I've sort of had it there all day. When I got in here, I made a electrolyte drink up. Yeah, sort of eventually I just slowly started packing up bits of my gear. I got dressed like pretty early, which I don't normally do. I normally pack up most of my gear, like my bed and that, before I get dressed, just so I've got more room in there. But yeah, this morning I got dressed first, just because I already had like my shorts on, because I chucked them on to go out to the toilet, because it was like still raining a bit and I didn't want to get my thermals wet. So yeah, and then packed up everything into my pack inside the tent, and then eventually climbed out of the tent to pack that up. The rain had eased off a little bit. It wasn't so bad. It was just kind of lightly raining, and there was no wind, luckily. So I went around, pulled all the stakes out, bagged them up, and then I went around and like unclipped the fly and kind of roughly folded that and put it aside, because obviously I wanted like the inner rolled up before it got too wet. Put that away, then rolled the fly up, and then disassembled the poles and put them away. And then yeah, I was pretty much ready to hit the trail again. So I'd already had my trekking poles set up, so I was using them for sort of like the first bit of the day. Yeah, the tracks were kind of muddy in places, so it was kind of yeah, slow and careful walking. It was fine. Like I knew, yeah, like I said, I knew it was going to be a long day, so I didn't mind just taking my time, taking it careful and trying not to slip on my ass, really. Came out to the bitumen road, whatever one that is, and yeah, had to walk along that for a bit. So when a car come, towards me, I sort of moved off as much as I could without ending up down in the long grass. Luckily I wasn't getting hit with too much spray from the cars, because yeah, it was still raining at that stage. But yeah, I eventually got off that, and then yeah, so the morning was sort of track fence line for a bit. I didn't really film too much because like everything was just wet. Like I was trying to keep my hands tucked away to try and keep them dry, but like as soon as I'd pull my phone out, the screen was getting wet, so I could hardly use my phone. There were a couple of times where the rain had eased off, like just long enough for things to be dry enough to work. I got into this like walking next to a crop, and I looked ahead and I thought, oh yeah, that's obviously the thing I have to go over, because I looked at the elevation and it sort of had like gradual climbing for most of the morning, and then back down again, and then fairly flat, and then there's just like steep up and down right before the hut. So looking ahead, I saw that and thought, oh yeah, so I'm going over that. So I crossed some fences, and then it's sort of near the base of that hill climb, it sort of turned more like scrubby, like more like bush, I guess. More trees and bark and stuff on the ground. It was a bit rocky, but it wasn't too bad. So it wasn't too bad of a climb, and I was trying to use the rocks because it was pretty steep, so I was trying to use them as steps wherever I could. But yeah, wicked views from up there. It looked really cool. And then as I got towards the top, there was a higher bit in front of me, and the clouds were just going like straight through that bit. So yeah, I was watching that for a while. Always think that looks cool. And then over a stile, and then down the other side, and pretty much as soon as I started climbing down, that's when I spotted like this thing that could be Huppatz hut, maybe. I was kind of thinking like, oh okay, it's right there, like I'm gonna get in early, but the weather's shit and it's meant to be like pretty shit, and the winds come up a fair bit. It wasn't quite this windy when I was walking today, luckily. Made it down. As I was getting closer to it, it actually looked pretty big. Like, well, it looked like a little old house kind of thing. But yeah, it's not really, it's just long, I guess. Just started raining again. Like I said, I made a drink up pretty much as soon as I got in, and then I thought I better get changed before I start to get cold. Like, I was already starting to get a bit cool because I was in like wet clothes and like soaking wet shoes and socks, and yeah, which I still need to hang up. Not that they will dry tonight. I'm pretty rugged up at the moment. I'm actually sitting here in my rain pants as well because my legs are getting a bit chilly because the wind, this is not very sealed, this hut, so it's a tiny bit breezy. The wind is sort of, yeah, I could feel it a bit on my legs, like blowing through. And I've just put some brooms to try and stop because there's a big gap under the door there, so I've just put them there just to try and stop a bit of the breeze that was coming in from under there. I just finished my bucket of chips. I've got a big, like a large, well, it's a regular, but it's a large for me. I normally have the smalls. So yeah, I have quite a big dinner tonight. I figured I may as well eat this one. I didn't really have much of a lunch because it was kind of rainy, shitty weather. I didn't really want to stop somewhere and have something decent for lunch, so I just had a bar. So that as I was slowly hiking along, so yeah, I figured I'd have the big dinner tonight. This is a big meal. But I'll eat it. Hopefully this hut holds up to the wind. If anything exciting happens, I will be sure to let you know. That's about it. Catch you next time. See ya.